So so Earthbound Spirits, right? So when we pass from this physical form, we're meant to go to the light, right? We get greeted by our guides. I'm going to explain a little bit about this. We get greeted by our guides or whomever spirit feels will be the most comforting one to appear to us, because our loved ones don't really look the way that they looked when they were alive. Their souls, we take on a form when we come here, and that's what we look like when we're in this body. When we pass out of these bodies, we may not look like this. But when a soul passes out of the physical form, someone will come in the guise of a loved one, to bring us home. And we go to our life review. We sit with our birth to death guides and our team, because your guide team is also evolving through the service of being your guide. So everybody is in on this. Everybody is growing because of your physical life experience, right? So we're meant to pass through. We sit down with our team. We're going over what we did, what went well, what didn't go so well, what we want to do next time, that whole thing. But if somebody's physical life comes to an end and they weren't ready for it, maybe they were a negative soul and they weren't done juicing up the power that they could get from being incarnate, because we get a lot more power from being incarnate than we do from being discarnate, at least in the third dimension. If you want to have power in the third dimension, you have to be in a body. You have to have the right equipment for navigating this reality, to engage your five senses, to have the full-on experience. So if a soul wasn't ready, they've had unfinished business, it was a trauma, or they're just a negative soul, they don't want to go, then they get stuck. That's what we call an earthbound spirit. Now, if I find an earthbound spirit attached to a human being, that tells me that soul has only been dead for less than one human lifetime. So say 100 years or less. They've been discarnate, yet stuck in the 3D reality without the body. After one human lifetime goes by, that person evolves, that soul evolves into what we would call a ghost. Ghosts have been earthbound for more than one human lifetime, say at least about 200 years. They have been discarnate, trapped in the third dimension without the right vehicle to maneuver here and have power. So then after that stage, after the ghost stage, and you still, now once you've been a ghost for quite a long time, it gets harder and harder to go to the light or even find it, because after the ghost stage comes the poltergeist stage. Now, poltergeists have been earthbound for anywhere, I have been instructed and taught by my Akashic Records guides, anywhere from, just over 200 years, 400 years, anything over 250, 300 years is probably the average starting point of how long the poltergeist has been here. By the time, I did a clearing of poltergeist on a property last year in Atlanta, and my guides told me that they were earthbound for over 400 years, and they had been here so long that they had become so distorted that even though they had been positive souls of the light, they had been trapped for so long, 400 years, in the deep south. Think about who must have died 400 years ago in the deep south, you know, and then what they had become from being earthbound. My guides told me they were borderline demons. They were like baby demons. They were graduating into full demons. And the thing was is that when I went to go clear the property, it was the first experience I ever had in these 10 years. This was last year. They saw me. They were so powerful, they saw me through the dimensions. And there were 3 of them, and the ringleader who had been leading everyone just sort of looked up and looked at me, and I felt their energy. And I'm up here in fucking upstate New York, working on a property in Georgia, and they saw me, and I said to my guides, "Oh my God, can they see me? Can they fucking really see me?" And my guides went, "Yes." Like, just no emotion. They're so like, there's no emotion in the higher dimensions, you know. They just said yes, like plain as day. Yes, they see you. And I was like, "Oh my God, let's get this over with." And I was like trying to rush through the rest of the reading because I was like, fuck, because I could feel them starting to move towards me. Because they did not want to be expelled from the property where they had been earthbound for over 400 years. It was all they knew. They didn't know anything else. They missed the light 400 years ago, and even if they had reached out to someone that was psychic or, you know, something like back in those days, that person couldn't help them go home. And so when you're trapped in the wrong dimension with the wrong vehicle, and you can't be heard, you're not seen, you're crying out to the humans who actually have the power to help, it can kind of make you a little ugly. And like, just telling you that story, like I was like tearing up. Like, all that ghost hunter shit, it's not cute. It's not fun. Those souls are suffering. Suffering.